Well, during my second experience, which happened in Washington, D.C. at the Wall, the Vietnam War Memorial, uh, in the fall of 1984, I received a very detailed message, I believe, from St. Michael the Archangel. And when I received this message back in 1984, I knew it was a very powerful and a very important message. I didn't quite understand why I was receiving that message. Why me? You know, through the years I would say to myself, why me? And then I would think philosophically, well, why not me? And I didn't write down that message right away when I had received it. And it wasn't until years later when began to write the book. And while I was in the process of writing the book during the early months, I was very concerned about the most important aspect of this book, which I believed was this message that I had received. But I didn't have a copy of it, and I didn't know how it was going to come to me. And then one morning when I was praying and meditating over this, it seemed like St. Michael as a force just came over me. And I sat down at my desk with a legal pad and pen, and the message came to me word for word, just as I had received it that night. And I would describe that message as a scolding declaration to the people of the United States of America to return to God and to God's plan, to avoid disastrous circumstances from happening. And I say this to paraphrase the message in itself. The message from St. Michael speaks about a nation that was created by men of high ideals. And when this nation was created with a constitution and a Bill of Rights under God by men of high ideals, it was replaced by other men who had different ideas and different concepts. Men who were more concerned about power and control and about materialism and greed. We became a nation of spoilers. We became a nation of man against man. Man against man, for example, in the Civil War conflict. We indeed did become a nation of conflicts. We became a nation of conflicts, of crime, not a nation that St. Michael envisioned or that God had envisioned for the United States of America. We have much to be proud of, but there are also many things that we have to be concerned about. We created philosophies and concepts and sciences that refused not only to recognize the spiritual nature of man, but even refused to recognize the existence of God. We have taken God out of our schools, out of our government, out of our institutions. And how have we replaced God? He's been replaced by what I would call a New World Order, a secular humanism, a nation that is more concerned about materialism and wealth and greed than it is about the ideals under which it was created, which also happen to be spiritual ideals. In St. Michael's message, he talks about the simple acts of negativity that man has committed against man. Simple acts of gossip and jealousy among people in a neighborhood grows to conflicts that eventually result in wars. And if you think about it through the history of mankind, all these major wars, even the great world wars, started in neighborhoods, people living next to each other, but never getting to understand their differences and their different beliefs. And these simple conversations where people would talk over fence lines in neighborhoods and talk in negativity, that small amount of negativity would grow and grow and grow. And all of a sudden we have nuclear war, nuclear destruction, and we have terrorism throughout the world. We talk about resolving conflicts in the Middle East. And what do? We debate whether an act is an act of war or an act of terrorism. That seems to be so important. But we fail to understand that the root cause is hatred between people. And it's this hatred between people that we have in our own country, in the United States, that we see around the world. It is this hatred that has to be replaced by love, love for mankind. How do we do that? If you look at St. Michael's message, it really tells us the way to do this is through prayer and meditation, to call out to God, to make God part of our nation again, to put God back in our schools, back in our institutions, and back in our government, to form prayer groups throughout this country, and to meet in groups of prayer, to meet in meditation, and to reflect on everything that's going on in the world and try to understand, with God as our partner, and through His love, and through the power and the energy of the Holy Spirit that He is manifesting throughout the world right now, and manifesting throughout the United States, what we need to do to change that tide, to turn that tide around, so that we can counteract all the negative energy that's going on in the world right now, to counteract it with positive energy, through love, through good works, through prayer, through being good examples, even in our daily life, individually, to improve our lives individually, to improve the lives of our family, and then to extend that, to improve the lives in our communities, and in our states, and overall in the United States, and to set an example for the rest of the world. In St. Michael's message, he says we don't understand why the rest of the world doesn't see us as a shining example. We must reflect ourselves on whether or not we really are a shining example for the rest of the world.